I'm Ellen Brown, President of the Rotary Club of Harrisburg. We're part of an international community and humanitarian service organization comprised of 1.4 million members in over 44,000 clubs in more than 200 countries. Rotary leads the world in volunteer service. For more than 112 years, the Rotary Club of Harrisburg has organized impactful local service projects that changes lives and creates hope where it's needed most. Please join us at a Rotary luncheon at the Hilton, service on a Monday, or a Rotary alternate meeting to meet our members who are waiting to welcome you. You can find out more about us at hbgrotary.org. Please like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We hope to welcome you as a member soon.
Thank you, President Ellen. It is always great and easy to introduce a man that needs no introduction. I could tell you about Brad Jones's professional and educational history, but I'll try to sum it up with an anecdote. Last year, we recalibrated our core values at the Chamber. One of the ones that we added to our core values is that we're going to be positive, that we're going to be unapologetically and relentlessly positive about our work in our region. And one of the first times we were talking about this as a board, I was really excited. I was like, we came up with this original idea. And I brought it up, and a board member came up to me afterwards and goes, "Oh, so you want to be Brad Jones?" Brad is the original unapologetic and relentless storyteller about not just his organization and not just downtown, but the city of Harrisburg and the region at large. He's a leader, he's a catalyst, and we're excited to hear from him today. I'll bring you Brad Jones.
Thank you, Ryan. It's great to be back here in front of the Rotary. And I think this is only my second or third time doing this. So it's always a great pleasure for me. I see so many good friends here as well. I want to also point out that one of Ryan's new principles, new mission items was to be data-driven. Love that. Love that. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Which is the contents of our newest report here that we did in partnership with the Downtown Improvement District and the Visitors Bureau and the Berg, the state of the downtown. I also want to point out that in my former life, I played in a really bad cover band, and I realized that you guys have the makings of, you know, maybe putting together that band again. We got John on vocals. We're going to have Dom on drums. Ted's going to play trumpet. I'll play guitar and sing badly. And then we'll just need a bass player. So Ted, if you could work on that, I'd really appreciate it. We always have the name for the band will be called Bad Cover Band. And it'll be really fun to introduce. So not quite as much fun as your band, but worse, a lot worse. Anyhow, so I want to, Ted, doesn't like when I forget the name of his band. And I know it's No Last Call, but I always seem to want to call it One Night Stand. I don't know why. I get them mixed up. I also want to point out that in the house here, the Alexanders here, and Marion and Bill is a titan of Harristown and our chairman at Harristown for over 10 years. And really everything, you know, as a lot of what you see in the downtown, he and Marion were involved in. So appreciate having you guys in the audience. And Marion, thanks for bringing Bill today. So this report that we've done, this is our third edition. It's called The State of the Downtown. And the last one we did was in 1718. And the whole purpose of this, while the pandemic was going on and in the midst of a lot of turmoil, we wanted to point out that an awful lot of great things happened here in the downtown and in the city in general. And so I'm going to just touch on a few of those briefly. Left a copy of the report for you at your chair or at your table, which you can look at on your own. But I'm going to touch on a couple things. One, just in the opening pages, the mayor's done a great job of really keeping fiscal responsibility for the city, police, fire, public works, a lot of good stuff going on at the city. Chamber had a great event here a few weeks ago in the hotel showcasing a lot of that progress. I also want to point out that small business growth here in the downtown and really in America in general, but here in Harrisburg is very much alive. And you will see the evidence of that in this report with a lot of new small businesses that have populated the downtown. And I should point out that we published this report in September and we didn't have time to get all the new leases that we've signed recently. So we have probably another half dozen small businesses that are part of the downtown fabric now that are not in this report. So that small business community continues to grow. Number of young entrepreneurs who are bringing all kinds of different flash and style to the downtown. I will point out about a half dozen of those entrepreneurs are minority-owned businesses, and we're really proud about that. So a lot of good stuff coming here that you won't even see in this report. I also want to point out if on the restaurant side of things, I know I listen to a lot of folks talk about how, sort of the death of Restaurant Row and, what are we going to do about Restaurant Row? And there's been some substantial new restaurants in the downtown and in Midtown, and we've tried to highlight that here in this report. Do we have some work to do on that? Yes, absolutely. We certainly do. But there's been some great news there, and I think you're going to see Restaurant Row come back. It's going to take a little while, staffing issues and, capital and things like that. In the report, we talk about residential development, and this is an area that has really boomed. There's probably in the pages of, there's 6 pages of residential projects in here. I'm proud to say that we're responsible for 4 or 5 of those projects that are listed here in the downtown. But there's been about $25 million worth of downtown development investment in residential just in the last couple of years. And that is largely based on small buildings that were motivated by preservation. Appreciate David Morrison and his group's work in motivating us and other developers to save and preserve some amazing buildings like the Plum Building, which we just converted from retail into residential last year. And there's a building that, is the old Victorian style building that you just can't find a building like that in just anywhere. And we were delighted to be able to preserve that, along with some other ones like the Fox on Washington down at 2nd and Washington. I will say that our good friends from UPMC Pinnacle really helped us with that in basically donating that building to us so we could put $1.5 million into it to renovate it and turn it into an apartment complex. But a lot of great preservation stories inside the pages of this report that were really a team effort, and again, highly motivated by the good work of the historic Harrisburg and their motivation to not only preserve things in the downtown and in the city, but also to motivate people to do urban revitalization. We really appreciate the work you're doing, David, who just received a preservation award from Preservation Pennsylvania here in the last week or so. So thank you again, David, for all the motivation you've provided. The other thing I will say is we talked a little bit in the report about some projects we used to have as student housing. We've converted those now into market rate housing, but we also have brought in an employee housing program, which helps our employees subsidize our employee housing for, I think we have about a dozen employees now living in our housing program, which we're very proud about. And you'll also see some retail successes here. We know how tough retail is in the market right now, but you'll see a couple of new boutiques. We've got probably one of the coolest vintage stores downtown now called Found Collab on South of Market. We've got a great electric bicycle store in Strawberry Square. DTLR, which is a sort of an urban clothing retailer, expanded during the pandemic. So a lot of things that you don't normally hear about that are going on that are very positive. In the educational corridor, we had some amazing new developments here, some that you are well aware of, like Harrisburg University's $100 million tower in partnership with UPMC Pinnacle. That will be called the UPMC Health Sciences Tower, where the nursing school will go. So your empire, John, continues to grow. That nursing school is alive and well in Strawberry Square right now and is now being partly taught in the new tower, along with a number of other things that'll be in that neighborhood. That building was put on, I think maybe only a few people in town actually remember when there was actually a building on that parking lot. And Bill, I don't know that I remember, or anybody, I couldn't find anybody in our organization that remembered when there was an actual building on that lot at 3rd and Chestnut, but there must have been at some point. But I couldn't find anybody who was still alive that could remember it. So any event, so $100 million tower on that site that really makes that whole block complete again. So it's very exciting. And then there's a new Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship inside Strawberry Square in sort of an effort to kind of reimagine Strawberry Square. We're also putting in a new clock box conference room, if you walk through Strawberry Square, you can't miss it. It's a big yellow box that leans out over a brand new stage. It'll all be available here in the next couple of weeks for performances and bringing the community together in downtown Harrisburg. And I think the other thing that you saw kind of wrap up in 22, which was just an avalanche of big projects that, had many of which had been in the works for some 20 some years worth of project or worth of development. My first day at Harristown in, 2000, July of 2000, I remember we met with a consultant to talk about a site for the federal courthouse, right? 2000, July of 2000. Courthouse opened basically at the end of last year. So that was a, whole generation of, people born and left the house while that thing, was still getting worked on. So those kind of projects, the state library, the forum building, the state archives building, all those things that, have sort of been completed during this 20 some year saga. Some of which those projects took 7 to 10 years, but most not as long as the courthouse, thank goodness. But I think what you're seeing is a tremendous, economic boom now in that 6th and 7th Street corridor because of the courthouse and other projects that are scheduled to in the pipeline for that area as well. I will also mention there's some other smaller things that I think are worth talking about in the educational corridor. Capillary School for the Arts during the pandemic expanded into the 3rd floor of Strawberry Square, where the old Scientific Museum of Discovery was. Best Friends Daycare expanded. We have a quality daycare that's one of the biggest now in the region in Strawberry Square. And then I think you're also, it's unusual to have a family doc in downtowns anywhere. We have UPMC as a family care in downtown Harrisburg, which has been really exciting and super helpful for our employees and the employee base in the downtown. In the centerfold here, you'll see a whole bunch of sort of, highlights of things that have gone on and just trying to capture some of the excitement and the progress that has come along in the last couple of years. I think probably one of the more significant areas there is just the development projects, as we talked about $425 million worth of projects completed in the last couple of years. I see here that we got a couple of real estate guys in the crowd here, and those are the kind of numbers you guys like to see. So these things all lead to something, something else that, leads to the next project. I will also point out we did manage to pick off the post office and get them in Strawberry Square. There's been a lot of buzz about the new project that might occur at 228 Walnut, the old federal courthouse. We're hoping that comes about. That's a developer out of New Jersey who's talking about putting 162 apartments in that building. That would be wonderful if that could actually happen, and we hope it does. It's gone through city's land development process and has been approved. And then I guess just a couple other key things that I think are worth mentioning is that there was a pretty heroic project that the city quarterbacked in the last couple of years that I think most of you all have now by this time driven on, the 2nd Street two-way. And that project, which was in the works for probably 2 or 3 decades, has really allowed Midtown to reclaim its neighborhood along Second Street. And it's just remarkable how nice that stretch is between Forster and essentially Division on that two-way section. Just a remarkable improvement for people and their property values in that corridor, turning it back into a neighborhood. So great kudos to Mayor Williams and previous mayor who got that started. And there's also been some additional transportation improvement projects that have been significant and worth talking about. Bike share went away during the pandemic, unfortunately, in many cities, but Tri-County Planning has brought it back. So we have bike share again, which is fantastic. And they're going to expand that into a regional bike share, not just a bike share for Harrisburg, but all across the region. And that will be coming soon. And then you saw that Capital Area Transit, which is now really going to be called Rabbit Transit, is making some improvements. They've made some improvements in the transfer center. They've made some improvements in the bus station at 4th and Market Street. But you're also going to see, if you haven't had Rich Farr in yet to talk, you should have him in to talk about what's going to happen here with the new transfer center, the new area that is down on Cameron Street, that they're going to do a big project down there. And eventually that'll allow us to kind of reclaim the transfer center at Market Square and allow that to be more of a public plaza for the community. So a lot of good stuff going on in the transportation side of things. We have 2 whole pages dedicated in this report to just the center, Harrisburg becoming sort of the center of the universe for esports. And, that is driven by a number of partners, obviously Harrisburg University with, a sort of world champion team. They've won the national championship a couple times with under a couple of different games that they play in esports. They've got a training center. They've got, varsity housing for their esports team, just like the way Penn State would have a varsity housing for their football team. HU has varsity housing for their esports team. You got to keep those guys in the gym, keep their thumbs ready, right? You don't know when you're going to need them. But then also along with that, you also saw that PNC Innovation Zone at Whitaker Center, which is another opportunity for intentional gaming and learning through that manner. And then finally, the professional esports team called the Harrisburg Sonics, which has a small home at 19 South 3rd Street called the Land Gaming Center. The Sonics have been going around the world winning championships in various esports categories. And so most people don't know much about them, but they are very well known in their sector. And then finally, I'll just talk a little bit about the arts community and say that the arts are thriving here out of the pandemic in the downtown. We've worked with the Visitors Bureau to help create an arts district that is now going to be a physical district in downtown and midtown, and will encompass most of the arts groups that we could get into that district. And that the logo you see here will be populated on billboards, and you'll start to see the Visitors Bureau pushing out a campaign to promote the arts district. But you're seeing a lot of good attendance at a lot of the arts community for various events, theater, et cetera, symphony, all of the above. And the only other thing I would say about the arts community is that this mural trail that Sprocket Murals Works has developed in the last couple of years is really taking off, and you'll be able to see more of those murals going to be coming your way here as Sprocket continues to develop its trail from downtown, midtown, Allison Hill, and even in other cities. So we're very proud of them and the work they do in the downtown, and we've sponsored a number of those murals. So all in all, just to say that I think there's great reason to be optimistic about what's going on here in the city and in the downtown. And we are anxious to continue to tell this story through this report and other means. So appreciate your kind indulgence today as we continue to try to make the city a little bit better every day.